Okay, hello everyone and welcome to this DocAssemble beginner training. Today, Sam Harden and I will be teaching you how to run your first DocAssemble interview, which is very exciting. I'll start by letting Sam introduce himself. So Sam, please go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Harden. I am an attorney in Florida. I'm also a computer developer, and I work as a program manager for Pro Bono Net. If you're not familiar with Pro Bono Net, we run a number of platforms, like the lawhelp.org platform that many states use, as well as Law Help Interactive, which is a document assembly tool for unrepresented people, and other knowledge management tools as well. You can message me through the DocAssemble Slack if you have questions about why am I here and what am I doing. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. And my name is Mia Bonardi. I am a licensed attorney, not a practicing one, happily. I am, sorry, just looking at the chat. I am working at Lemma Legal as the Director of Operations. I am also a Suffolk Law graduate last year, so happily back in the Suffolk Law building. And I wanted to share just two things before we about just a background about myself, and then also just two tidbits before we get started. That for this training, and just coding in generally through DocAssemble, no prior coding experience is required. I learned to code in DocAssemble with no prior coding experience. I started on the document assembly line project in the summer of 2020, and I had absolutely no idea how to code, and it was amazing being a part of this project and learning some of these tools and logic, and it was fantastic, and now it's what I do full time. And another thing that I think people come into learning coding is, and what I came in thinking is that I would need to know math, and I just want you to know up front that there is no math required. And so do not fear, there is no math required today. So I think that now that we've got that out of the way and that you do know this, I want to check with everybody. This is going to be an interactive session. We want you to participate and do the demonstration along with us. And by doing that, we sent out a sign-up link for I think Quentin just posted it in the chat to sign up and make an account. Is that? Yes, okay. And then if you haven't done so already, and so I'm just gonna give us some time in order to make sure that everybody has the ability to do that, and let us know, let Sam or I know. We're a small enough group that in the room, if you're having any difficulties, please raise your hand and I can help you out. And then on Zoom, if you're having any difficulties, please unmute or message in the chat that there is any issues. I'm not seeing anyone yet that's having.
3 people have signed up already, so.
Okay.
I'm just getting them.
Oh no, it's just with any issues. So I'm just.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, let's see. I'll just give everyone a little bit more time before we get started. Again, if you're having any issues, please just let us know. We're very happy to help. Okay, so Laura's saying she signed up for a DocAssemble account yesterday, but didn't see the link come through to sign up. Laura, what email, here, I'll check for you.
Careful about emails broadcasting.
Right, that's, yeah.
It's okay for people to sign up again too, don't worry about it. You just might need to use a different email, or it might let you. Jonathan, you could tell us. Someone didn't activate it.
Okay, so Laura, do you want to just sign up again with this link that Quentin, and I'll post it in the chat also, and we can, I'm sorry that happened, we'll just try and get you on. And yeah, Sam just also posted also. Okay, awesome, Laura. Just thanks so much for your patience, everybody. We're almost there. Just making sure everybody has access to follow along. Okay. Awesome. So great, Laura. Thank you. Okay. So are there any other, is anyone else having any difficulties? Feel free to unmute or put it in the chat, and then seeing none, we'll get started shortly. I think we're close to everyone. That might be everybody, Sam, if we want to. Thank you, Julie.
Right.
Okay, so just before Sam gets started with the Hello World demonstration, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about what DocAssemble is. It is, excuse me, I'm just looking, I just see Laura's question, just to check, do we, thank you, Sam. Awesome. So yeah, I'm going to tell you what DocAssemble, or a little bit more background about DocAssemble if you weren't able to make it here this morning, or if there's any confusion. And also this is recorded for anyone who's not joining us live. So DocAssemble is a platform for creating mobile-friendly web applications. It is an open source software authored by Jonathan Pyle. He was just here. Oh, he's still here. Thank you, Jonathan. And it's really great. This is the beginner training at DOCACON 2023. We're all very excited to be learning and running some of us, our first DocAssemble, are helping you run your first DocAssemble interviews. And so with that, I'll let Sam get started. And again, we encourage everybody to follow along and do like side-by-side screen with the Zoom and with your playground in order to be able to do this demonstration. Thank you.
Right. Let me see if I can share my screen. Desktop 2, desktop 1. Oh, this is the problem with never updating my computer. Hold on. Dadgummit. I have to quit and reopen Zoom for some reason. All right, I will be right back. Hold on.
Okay, no worries. What's up? Music? Oh, well, I'm not good at singing, so everybody, I will spare you the tunes. With that, we are going to just, yeah, ma'am. Just one second while we.
I am back. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I updated Zoom like 48 hours ago too, so
You know,
not sure why.
how it goes.
All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. So, show of hands, I guess, in the chat, how many people have like done anything with the DOCACON playground before? Okay, so a few. And not a ton, which is okay. So what I want to start off with is the DOCACON playground. This, if you're unfamiliar with it, the playground is like the development environment for DOCACON interviews that runs live inside the DOCACON server. It's one of the best features about DOCACON, in my opinion, and it makes your life really easy if you know how to use it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that before getting into Hello World. You see when you log in, the first thing you're going to go to is the playground usually. And if you haven't created anything in a DOCACON server, the first thing it's going to load is this test.yaml file. This is a standard file that loads on every DOCACON instance, and it's just like a demo interview to give you a sense of what's possible and how things look inside the playground. You'll see that it has a name field right here and that it ends in .yaml. YAML, I don't know what YAML stands for. I probably should, but it's .yml. This is the kind of file right here that runs the DOCACON interview. And you can see it doesn't look like what you may think of as computer code. There's no curly braces, there's no weird formatting, no formulas, anything like that. You just have, things like question and then the fields for the question. So it's a really nice way of formatting your questions and the possibilities for your questions and telling DOCACON what to do, and it's very readable, which is very nice. You also see that you have line numbers here on the left-hand side. These are important when you're debugging things or when you're looking for things inside your interview code. So it's great to have line numbers. I, typically don't pay attention to them until it's too late, and then I have to go and find something, but it makes finding something really easy. You'll also see that things are separated by these three little lines. This is how you separate different blocks of things, like different questions, different bits of code, different like settings that you want, like up here for metadata, that's separated by these three lines. And I'll get into this a little bit more going through the Hello World and the question block tutorial. Down here, you have your buttons. Save just saves the interview for you. Save and run will save it and also open a new tab with a running test version of this interview. So you can actually, put in inputs and hit continue and go through the interview as you have it saved here as a test version to test things out. You can download the interview, which will download it as a YAML file if you want to edit it on your computer with a code editor. And you can delete it from here if you want to. You can also share it, if you want, so that functionality is there. And then on the right-hand side, I won't get too much into this, but you have this window of variables. This can be really helpful because it tells you what your variables are, and variables are these things right here, like where it says client.name.first. Variables are buckets that values need to go into, if you think of them that way. Client.name.first is the variable that's supposed to contain the client's first name. So DOCACON will tell you in this variable section, wherever that is, under client, that client needs to have a name.first, so client needs to have a first name. Down here at the bottom is probably the best feature of the DOCACON playground, your example blocks. This is a really handy thing to use when you're looking for something. I use this all the time. If you need to remember, like, how do I put in a text field? How do I put in something that says it has to be an email address? It'll tell you right here in the example blocks. And the nice thing is you can even insert these right into your interview and edit them as you need to instead of having to copy and paste. So again, that's a really, really high level, quick overview of the playground. It has a lot more features that I'm not going to get into, but you know, play with the playground. That's what it's for. You can't really mess things up from the playground. So, you know, it's made to be worked with and tested and used. So don't be afraid about putting things into the playground and hitting save and run. The worst thing that'll happen is it just gives you an error. So use it. Any questions on the playground before I move forward? All right. Let's see. Yet another markdown language. Thank you, Michael. So the first thing I'm going to go over is creating a new interview, and we're going to do the Hello World demonstration in this interview. So, you know, I have the test.yaml file open right now, but I want to create a new one to house my interview. And to do that, I'm just going to click Add up here at the top. And it's going to create a blank playground for me and prompt me to put in a name. So I'm going to put in hello world.yaml. Important note, if you don't put in the YAML section, it will tell you that you can't do that. Oh, that's actually a new improvement. It will add the YAML for you. So you don't have to put in YAML. You used to have to, if I remember correctly. But you know, just hit save and you know, you'll have your hello world YAML file. Over here at the right, it'll give you this yellow warning block that says this interview file does not have an endpoint. If you intend to use users to run this interview directly, you need to add a mandatory code block or question. So we're going to figure out what that means. And to do that, I'm going to add a question. So I'm just going to type question. I'm going to type a colon, a space, and then the little straight up and down line. On my keyboard, it's the button under the backspace button if I hit shift. I'm not sure where it is on other keyboards. This is like a standard Windows keyboard. So question is going to tell DocAssemble, hey, I'm about to start a question. I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit tab to go in because I need to indent the text under question to let DocAssemble know, here's the text that you should show from the question. So I'm going to put in hello world, and then I'm going to hit 3 lines here. I'm going to see what happens when I hit save. Okay, this still tells me I don't have an endpoint. I need a mandatory code block or question. So what that's telling me is DocAssemble's reading through this YAML file. It's trying to tell me, like, trying to figure out what to do from what I'm telling it. And it just sees that I have a question, hello world, but it doesn't know that it has to display that question. So what I'm going to do is go up here and put in a variable, mandatory, and then a colon is true. So I'm going to tell it, you have to show this question no matter what you're doing, show this question. So I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to hit save and run. And if I got it right, it'll show me hello world. A bit of background on the mandatory code block or mandatory line here. The way that DocAssemble works is through backward chaining of looking for what it needs to complete an interview and then displaying those questions to the end user. This means that if your document at the end has 15 fields, it will try and find the values for those 15 fields and the questions that go along with them and show those questions to the person answering the interview. If you have a question in there that isn't included in your document and isn't mandatory, then it's not going to show that question. It's something to keep in mind when you're developing these interviews. The order of the questions in the YAML file doesn't always matter that much when you're coding them. It's what DocAssemble is looking for in the end result. So because I have mandatory true up here, it's going to display hello world. But if I take out mandatory true and I hit save and run, it's going to give me an error. And it says the same warning that we got on the right-hand side. So I didn't have anything that's mandatory. It doesn't know what to do, and it's not going to do anything. It's just going to show me what's wrong. So any questions about that?
Sam, what would happen if you kept the mandatory true but removed the vertical pipe? Is that required?
You mean the vertical pipe on question?
Question and colon.
So you'll see the text changed color right there. If it hits save, let's see. Error. Okay.
But
so, no, go ahead.
If we bring hello world back up on the same line as the question, yeah.
And then hit save and run. That should work. Oh.
Just have a small typo. That's all. Yeah, Mike's got it.
Mantadori. Okay, mandatory. Thank you. Hello world. So yeah, Mia, that's a good point. That vertical line after the colon with question is telling DocAssemble to look for a line break. So you can, as a matter of formatting, put your question in line with the question, just like I did here. A lot of people prefer putting it in the line below because it's easier to read. And I can add more text in there without it looking goofy. Today. See, I can put in multiple lines of text because I've got that vertical pipe right there. And if I hit save and run, it'll go ahead and do all the text. It's not going to insert line breaks where I inserted them because it's just reading this as one big block of text right there. Any other questions about this?
I'm not seeing any in the chat. Ashley is wondering, is there a way to put line breaks in?
Yes. And the way to do that is with Markdown formatting. So if I do an enter and then an enter and hit save and save and run, it should put in the line. No, it didn't.
Just in the sub question area.
That's right, just in the sub question. So let's add in a sub question. And again, I'll format this like question. Hopefully I spell it right. So sub question, and I've got my vertical pipe in there, and then I've got lines, empty returns after each line. And if it hits save and run, so it's got hello world, how are you today? And then these 3 lines for line breaks. I believe the reason that you can't put it in the question is that's designated as either H2 or H1 text. Like when you actually look at the code behind it, you notice that it's like pre-formatting things for you. And it's got a little very faint line under the question section. So this is a good point to get to the different parts of a question. So question up here is really your question header. And then you can add in a sub question, which is kind of like the body text of a question. So you can add in line breaks. You can format the text as well using Markdown. which you can do, you know, DOCACON doesn't let you do like Control B and add bold or Control I and add italics. You can do that with Markdown. And let me give you a little do. So italics, bold. You can also do like heading text. Subheading with 2 hashes. So you can see down here in the example blocks, Jonathan has pretty much everything you can do with Markdown. You can do bulleted lists, you can do numbered lists. You can add in links as well, instead of just putting the URL with this kind of format. So let me insert this and then we can play around with it. So you can see all of the stuff that you can do. And that's also mandatory. So I'm going to delete that, save and run. And you see all of the stuff that you can do with Markdown. So any kind of text formatting, you can insert images. Like if you have an image of like what a eviction complaint looks like or a parking ticket looks like, that's a scan, you can insert that as well as an image and say like your parking ticket should look like this, you know, do you have it? Hit yes to continue. So you can do things like that. So there's a lot you can do with Markdown. There's more advanced stuff you can do with putting in even like HTML and things like that. But I'm not going to get to that in this portion of the interview. Any questions about Markdown?
I'm not seeing any, but also just to check in with everybody, is anyone seeing any errors or having any trouble processing through the Hello World? Anyone in the room with any error messages or questions about what you've seen so far?
Okay. So you're probably wondering, when do I get to put in fields for...
We got one question from Laura. She goes, does question just mean any text that you want to appear, not just question prompts?
Yes. DOCACON works off of, if I've got it, if I remember correctly, question prompts, code blocks, and then some other different blocks. But question is the way that you tell DOCACON to display something to the end user. So like if you wanted to have like your end screen where you display the document that you want somebody to download that's been completed for them, you use a question block to then display that document. So question really is the way that you display things to the user. So I'm going to keep working in the Hello World YAML file and put in a question and a sub-question. And then I want to ask someone who's using the interview to put in some variables. So let's see if I got this right. All right, so under sub-question, I put in the designator fields right here. So fields is the information that your question block is looking to collect. So I put in just here a little dash after a tab. So I tabbed in, I put a dash, a space, and then your name, and then client name right there. So let's save that. I'm gonna save and run and see what happens. All right, so we have, let's put in some variables, let's go, and then your name. My name is, and then I'll hit continue, and then I get an error because that's all it's looking for. So fields here, the default, if you don't specify anything different, DOCACON will assume that you're looking just for a text field for client name. You can put in different kinds of things that it's looking for. You can create different multiple choice questions, checkboxes, like where you push the buttons, all kinds of things are possible with DOCACON, but the default that it looks for is just this, I can't go back, text completion field for your name. Your name, it's looking for that and creating the label for me. If I wanted to not have a label, I can just put no label, client name, and it should remove the label for me. So you can see I no longer have a label. I've just got the variable client name as this blank right there. You can have multiple fields per question. So I can do last name as well, and do food, say food. So I can have as many fields as I want within reason inside this one question. Ultimately, it's a style decision how many fields you want to go with one question. It's probably a bad idea to take one long document, create one question for it, and say your name, date on the complaint, what happens, and go on from there. You probably want to create different questions for that. But for things like looking for the client name and last name and their favorite food, you can do that all on one screen. So you see, I don't have a label for first name, so I don't know what it is, and then last name and favorite food. So any questions about that? Awesome. So I'm going to put my label back in for first name, so I know what it is. And you'll note here, I've got these little underscores between client and name. I can do client name and do it all as one thing. I don't know, I can't remember if I can do, yeah, I can't do client hyphen name for first name, because that's a special symbol that DOCACON looks for different things. So I can't use it between client and name. I can't do client space name, because when DOCACON sees a space right there, that means that it's looking for different items. The client is different from name. It's not the same thing. So just be mindful of what you use. I like to use underscores instead of making things run together. If you want to use camel case, you can do client name, something like that. And in the test YAML file, you'll see that it's got a dot between client and name. That refers to client having different attributes, which is going into Python. And now you can have an object, and then the object has different attributes. Like every client has a first name, a middle name, and last name. So you can just say client dot first name, client dot middle name. But I'm not going to get into that here. So for this, I'm just going to do client underscore name. So I'm going to hit save again to clear out my error. And let's say I want this to ask the first name, the last name, and I should probably change this variable name to first name so I know what it is. And what I want this to do is ask the first name, last name, and the favorite food of whoever is asking this, and then give that information back to them on the screen. So what I'm going to do is create a new question here. You said sub question. And then I want to insert what they said. So I want to put in like whatever information they put in for first name, last name, and favorite food. The way that I'm going to do that is through a special formatting language called Mako. If you were here this morning, you heard about Jinja and Jinja formatting. Mako's kind of like Jinja, but all it's really doing is telling DOCASymmbol, I want to insert the value of some variable in this place. I want you to go and get the value for first name, whatever the person put in, and put it here where I tell you to put it. So I'm going to say your first name is, and then to make a Mako thing, whatever it's called, I'm going to use a $sign and then these curly braces. And you see, like when I go over them, they turn green. That's because DOCASymmbol actually knows what these are and is now looking for something to go in between these curly braces. Also, if I take one away, it no longer turns green. It needs to be completed with an opening and a closing. So just remember to always open and close out your little curly braces, and you have to have the $sign. So I'm going to take the variable name from first name and put it here and hit save. And let's run it and see what happens. And it's going to give me an error because I don't have a mandatory code block here. So what I can do is just put in mandatory code block at the top underneath these 3 lines and hit save again. And then if I do save and run, it should work. Your first name is whatever I put in there. So it's taking that value that I put in for first name and giving it back to me for first name. So I can use last name. I can put in favorite food right here. That's really what Mako is for. It's for taking things and displaying them back to the user. If you want somebody to confirm, like you said, that, you know, the big problem with your landlord is blah, blah, blah. Is there anything that you'd like to add to that? Yes or no? You can do things like that with Mako. So just keep in mind, Mako's different than how you would insert things in like a Word doc as the final endpoint of your interview, because it's really designed for inserting things on the screen and showing them to the user. Laura, do $sign and curly braces always go together for Mako, or would you sometimes use one symbol or the other set? As far as I know, you have to do the $sign and then the curly braces. So if I take the $sign off, that may give me an error. Yep. Oh, no, it didn't give me an error, but it just defaulted to your name is first name. So it doesn't know that I want it to do Mako right there. The next thing, I've got 2 mandatory statements here for my 2 questions. What happens if I take off the first mandatory statement and just went with the one for display the first name? What do y'all think? I'm gonna hit save and run. It actually shows me the first question. And this is what I was talking about before with DOCASymmbol looking for the variables it needs to find completions for. So when I tell DOCASymmbol that this code block right here, this question block, I'm sorry, is mandatory, DocAssemble is smart enough to look and say, you know, I've got a variable called first name here, and I need something to put in where first name goes. Otherwise, I can't do my job. So where am I going to get first name from this interview? It looks up here and finds the question that first name appears in and asks that question before it shows the mandatory code block. So that's how DocAssemble does that kind of looking backwards for variable completion. So it will always default to looking for the variables that it needs and finding the values for those. So when you're writing a DocAssemble interview, you don't have to put mandatory equals true in all of your questions for them to show up. You just have to make sure that DocAssemble is going to look for the values for those variables and try and like find whatever those mean. So any questions about that?
And also let us know if you're having trouble following along, or if you've seen any error messages that you have a question about or anything like this.
Yeah. All right, so again, this was a really quick overview of something that, you know, frankly, like people that know DocAssemble can say, hey, this is easy. It's complicated. It took me a long time to figure out what I was doing in DocAssemble. I still have to go back and read the documentation a lot. When I'm doing something in DocAssemble, I refer to the documentation almost every like hour, usually, because there's a lot that DocAssemble can do, and it can be a very complicated system. It's easy to read, it's easy to get up to speed on, but it is complicated. So, you know, if this isn't clicking for some reason, don't worry. It takes a while sometimes. It took a while for me for it to like really click with me and make sense. But the more you work with it, the more you develop with it, the more you play with it, frankly, the more sense it's going to make. So I really encourage you to like try things out and see what works, what doesn't, and just learn by doing. So Mike Grunwald, a question is underscore the preferred variable naming convention, even if other formats work. Ultimately, that's up to you. I prefer, excuse me, underscores because it's easier for me to read than camel case, like first name. So really, like once you get deep into DocAssemble development, the accepted convention is to use objects, like in that test.yaml file, and do things like client.name.first, that kind of thing, and use objects in this way, because down the road, it makes development easier and faster if you have a set of objects, and those objects have attributes that you can then call up, and DocAssemble is like programmed to use these in special ways if you need it to. So, you know, once you get deep into development, you'll start using objects and their attributes, and I highly encourage you to do that. But for right now, I would say do whatever works for you. If you prefer underscores, if you prefer like putting things together, if you prefer camel case, do what works. You can't use spaces, and you can't use hyphens. And if you use a period, it will think it's an object. All right, so let's move on to error messages, which I read a lot because I cause a lot of errors. And I'm going to try and cause some. So first, I'm going to do some bad formatting. And hit save. And you'll notice that there are error messages that can show on two levels. The first level is here in this box on the right-hand side, and it tells me a syntax error was encountered. Click run to see the error. So I'm going to hit save and run, and see what it says. So it's telling me there was an error reading the YAML file. I see these a lot because I misspell things or I unformat things or do things in the wrong way. So it's giving me the document source code was, and this is what I put in. And then it tells me the error. Error was, while scanning a simple key in Unicode string, favorite food, could not find except expected : in line 12, column 1. So DocAssemble is really good about telling me what an error is and where to look for it. So it's telling me the line number and even what column it is, even though you can't really see columns. But let's go back and look at line 12. So it's telling me line 12 here. And the reason that it's doing that is, again, DocAssemble starts at the end and looks backwards. So it starts here at line 12. It says, this is my mandatory code block. This is what I need to execute and do, but I can't do that, okay? Because favorite food isn't formatted the right way. So this guy's got favorite food and then a space and then like a thing, and we don't know what to do with that. So if I put in a colon here, let's see if that solves the error. All right. I still see an error here, so let's find out what happens. Field label last name overwrites previous label first name. Okay, so this is a different error message. And if you ever get into programming, you'll hear the old adage that if you get a different error message, that means you're making progress. So we are making progress here in debugging our interview. So under fields, I see favorite food, I see all my fields, but it's got this, if you notice, it's got one little, what are these called? M dashes, N dashes? I call them hyphens. It's got one hyphen, and then this whole string of things, which is not really what I want. I want 3 different fields here, but it's reading it as one. So that's telling me something. I need to have hyphens. So if I put hyphen, hyphen, a hyphen, and hit save, let's see, save and run. And I messed something up again, kind of on purpose. So invalid variable name, food, favorite food. So you'll see I put my colon in the wrong place for key favorite. So I made favorite the key or the label, and I really should have done favorite food. And let's see if that fixes it. And it looks like it does. And to confirm that, I'm going to hit save and run. And so it'll say, let's put in some variables. So what happens if I put in your favorite ice cream is, and something that doesn't exist? Ice cream choice. Okay. So you see here over on the right, now I've got this undefined names thing with ice cream choice. So that's giving me like a gentle hint that something's going to go wrong because I've got a variable in here that's undefined. So let's hit save and run and see what happens. Error. Interview has an error. There was a reference to a variable ice cream choice that could not be looked up in the question file. So it's telling me, hey, you put in a variable and you want me to find a value for it, but you didn't give me the opportunity to find that value. Ice cream choice is down here, but there's no question that references ice cream choice. So again, DocAssemble is really good at giving you error messages. The way to learn how to read error messages is to cause them and then just read them and see if you can figure out what's going on. So here it's telling me ice cream choice is a variable, but there's no value associated with that. So I need to put in some sort of thing that sets the value for ice cream choice. and then I'll put in ice cream choice and hit save. And then that warning goes away. And if I hit save and run, I won't get that same error because ice cream choice will be happy. It'll have a value to go with the variable. Laura, you had a question. What do the different colors under variables mean? Yellow, medium, blue, darker blue. So that's a very good question. Dark blue, you'll notice that the dark blue color is for first name and ice cream choice. The dark blue means that this variable exists in the interview and then is used somewhere in the interview the DOCA symbol has to look for. So first name and ice cream choice both fall under this mandatory question block. And that means DOCA symbol is going to look for the values for these. So not only are they set as variables, they're going to collect information, and then that information is going to be used in some way, either in a document or to show something to the end user. Favorite food and last name are both yellow. So that's kind of like a gentle warning, like, hey, you have this variable called favorite food, but you don't do anything with it. It doesn't appear here. It doesn't appear in a document. You're going to ask it, but it doesn't show up anywhere. So if I go down and put in your favorite food is, and then here's a trick it took me too long to figure out. I can put my cursor here and then go over here and click on favorite food, and it'll insert it right where I want it to. And I hit save, and favorite food is going to turn to blue right there. So that means that favorite food is used somewhere in the interview. So if I do favorite foods, that's going to make a new variable called favorite food. So now I have favorite food, favorite foods, and it's going to put it under undefined names. So red means, hey, you specified this variable. There's no way I can find it. And I'm going to throw an error for you once you hit save and run. So whenever you see a variable name in red, be on the lookout for those. When you have a really long interview, this right-hand panel is very helpful because it'll show you like, hey, you've got these yellow variables, you've got a red variable. You can take this over and search for it and then find it, and it'll find it for you. So it's a really helpful way of debugging without having to run it and then read the error messages. Mia, how am I doing on time?
Doing great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
So does anyone have any questions about error messages and reading those? Anna, yes, Anna, you can only have one like top level question per page. You can, it's possible, have like inside your fields here, you can use your fields as like sub questions, for lack of a better term. Let me go down to so you can do like notes among fields, things like that. You can use like you could say like, give me your information, and then say, what is your first name? What is your last name? You can use these different fields as like sub questions, even though this is sub questions, so that's probably not the best term. But like smaller questions within your larger question. But question, whenever you put question up at the top, that really tells DOCA symbol like, for this screen, here's your heading, here's your subheading, and here are the fields that you're going to ask for. So yeah, you can't do like question, like a second question on the page like that. And if I hit save, it's going to give me a syntax error. Any other questions? All right. So that's really, like I said, a very fast, that was under an hour. That's a very fast, like, run through of how to use the playground, how to create questions, like variables, things like that. Some of you, I think, have like coding experience. Some of you don't. When I first started, like getting into this stuff, I didn't have a coding background. I have a major in English, and the highest level math I did was pre-cal, which is embarrassing, but true. You don't need a math background to do this. It just takes practice and reading through and doing. And if I can do it, frankly, anybody can do it. So have at it with DocAssemble. It'll tell you what's going wrong. It's really fun to develop things in it. You can do like interviews that complete documents. You can also do a ton with DocAssemble that we're not going to get to today. It's almost like a general purpose computer that you can use to do different things with bits of information from different systems. So really, this is very basic. These are building blocks, but they're necessary to understand like how variables work, how questions work, and how DocAssemble works, to really know like the basics, so you can get to really, really cool things that you can do. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll answer them while Mia's going through like different question types and things like that in fields. And also make use of the DocAssemble Slack as well. That's a great place to ask questions. So Mia, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Sam. And then also, would you mind just showing them how to download this Hello
Yes.
World YAML? And then could you just put it in the Zoom chat? And then I will actually use that to continue today.
Yeah. So to download your YAML file, just hit the download button, and then it'll download here. I'm using Chrome. So I'm going to show it in the Finder, and you get to see all my files. How do I attach it? Screenshot format.
You might be able
Let's
to
see.
drag it into the chat.
Oh, I just drag it in. This is why I give tech talks.
There's also
So
a little there's also a little file icon, and then there's your computer, but then there's a bunch of other options people can use, but that's just on the version of Zoom that I have. I know by now it probably has a new version for you, Sam, to upgrade to.
Dang, it says transfer YAML files is restricted by your account admin. Let me, Mia, I'll just send it to you.
On Slack, and then I'll share it with everybody.
Sorry about that. All right, one moment.
Yes,
okay.
Actually,
There we go.
I'll also share a few other resources with everyone. So here they are. I'll share them again at some point.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Sam. Just a second, everyone. Okay, I'm getting the same message on my end. So I don't know if we can. Share the YAML file with everyone, but it doesn't allow files like that. Okay, so right, okay. Just a second, everyone. Thank you for that tip. You did have this tip in the chat and I overlooked it. Michelle with the answer, as always. Okay, here we go. So I will share my screen and show you all how to upload that document into your, Michelle, do they need to change the TXT to YML now? So when you download that file now, if you change the TXT to YML, you will be able to follow this instruction. You can also open it and copy and paste it into the DocAssemble playground. I believe that's also an option. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I am going to now go to this upload button here on the front of my screen. Okay. And again, please continue to put any of your questions in the chat. If I am speaking too quickly, please let me know. And you can feel free to unmute yourself and to just interrupt me and ask a question. I'm going to. Oh, I have not followed that important instruction of renaming the TXT at the end of that file to YML. Okay. And so I've just uploaded Sam's YML file. And here I'm just, there we go. Okay, so you'll notice that when I uploaded that file, it looks like whatever I had here disappeared. It did not disappear. It what I had here previously, I can just move over to that file, but I want to work in this file, so I'm just gonna head over here. And this is exactly what Sam was using to demonstrate some of the functioning of DocAssemble before. And now I'm gonna show you, and I think this speaks to one of the questions that Anna, I think you asked regarding several screens appearing. And so I just want to, I'm just going to do some copy and pasting for simplicity, but also just to separate out some of these screens so that as we proceed through the interview, we'll be able to see them on different screens. So here what I did was I brought down favorite food. And again, when you create a new, this is a new block. And so you'll see these 3 dashes that we've been using. So you just do 3 of these. It's easy to copy and paste them. You do need them above and below. Most of the time, like just, it's good to have them above and below. Best practice. These are individual blocks. So this is a question block. And now, so we have, this is like, what is, and then we'll also do the same thing for ice cream. And so I'm just going to bring that down. I'm going to do the other 3 blocks. And so I'm going to do 3 question blocks here. And so now I have 3 question blocks. And what we're building out here is actually what we're going to do it now is an interview order. And so we're going to be able to say which order that these 3 questions are asked in. And before we just put this mandatory true on this final output question block, which this is down here is also a question, but now we're going to bring it up and we're going to create a code block. And we're going to say that this, when docassemble runs this file, it needs to go in this order of the variables. And so because this question block has 2 fields, we're just going to say we just want first name, and it'll also ask last name because it's just going to show this question on the screen. And then we're also going to grab favorite food, and then we're also going to grab ice cream choice. Then we're just going to redesign down here and do okay. And again, please include any questions as I'm proceeding through this in the chat. And so just gonna call this answers. And we are going to add this is just another type of block, but to get this to show, we can label this a variable. This is an event block just to add this so that it does appear on the final screen. Let's see, we'll go up here, add that. Now this is our interview order block. And so if I did everything right, we'll see. So we are not asking for favorite foods, we're asking for favorite food. And so there we go. And then again, you don't necessarily need to save every time before you save and run, but it's just to test out, see what you're looking for in your variables and everything, but you can also just save and run and test that way. Okay, cool. So my name is Mia. Favorite food, and then also, as Sam showed you earlier, this could be quite repetitive. So if we wanted to just say no label here, and then for the field, and back over here, now we have no label, and we're just asking what the favorite food is. And so I'll just say potato. Cool. And then favorite ice cream. And so again, we could do the same thing. None, I don't eat ice cream. And so on the final output, my favorite ice cream is none and favorite food is potato. Cool. So this is, this, as you can see, can sometimes not be the grammatically correct or come out as you would want it to. And so I'm going to show you how we can get the right output, or what you want the outputs to be, or the expected outputs from your user. And so let's just go back to favorite food, and let's say favorite food, we're going to say I'm going to make this a choices list, and we're going to have now here, can people write in the chat what their favorite foods are so that I can have some ideas here? Anyone? Sam, what is your favorite food? Anyone here? What is your favorite food? Pizza. Thank you. Pizza. Skittles.
Stir fry.
Okay, cool. Stir fry. Awesome. Grapes. And then, okay, okay. I think I missed a mac and cheese. Thank you all. Oh, I did copy this mac and cheese. Cool. Thank you. And then we're gonna see if we can get favorite food to appear, these to be the options. And let's run it again. And so now we have a drop down. And now I'm choosing from these. But what if none of these are my favorites? And so I don't want to choose any of these. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm going to go in and make this the option here, where I'm going to make this a field. And then I'm using a Mac, so I'm hitting the Option key. This is something Michelle taught me. Thank you, Michelle. And if you see, this little plus sign just appeared, and I'm able to drag the mouse and then navigate back. And so I'm moving several lines at once. And that is just a tool that's just like a thing I find helpful very frequently. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Okay, so then we are going to try this out in order to get the feature that I want. Normally there is a none of the above option. Does anyone know why there would not be a none of the above option? Bryce, I'm phoning a friend on this, where this is my equivalent of asking a question on the DocAssemble Slack in person. The none of the above option. It should, you know?
Yeah, it's at the same level as choices, none of the above.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's
I thought it.
you might need a purpose.
Thank you. Okay, so I have gotten my feedback from the DocAssemble Slack instantaneously, and now I'm testing. Nope, we're not getting it yet. We're going to keep testing. But anyway.
The order isn't going to matter. You might need this to be fields.
Oh, okay. Yes, this might be my. Oh.
So when you change it to fields, you'll have to edit a few parts. You'll have to put you'll have to put the variable and the choices all in.
Right. And then and so now we're going to go back to no label. And then I missed a what? Thank you. Okay.
Mia?
Yes.
Sorry, just a moment
Question in the
ago-
room.
Just a moment ago, it looked like you were able to tab everything over by highlighting it en masse. How did you do that?
Yes. So this is one of my favorite tips that I've ever received, Michelle. This is something I learned from her. So I'm on a Mac, and it's my Option key. And then do you see this plus sign? It's also Alt, I think, is the other option. And then if you click and then drag, you're able to highlight several things. So if I want to delete all of this or scroll up and highlight many different things, or like move with like my left and right arrows over. So that is that feature.
Does anybody know if that works on a PC?
Or it might be a different.
Yeah, I'm not able to You can make that work.
Okay, so interesting that I cannot find the, oh wait, maybe it is the radio. Ah, okay. Really? Okay.
Boxes, it's automatic. With radio buttons, you have to add it.
With which one? Checkboxes, it's automatic. Okay, so if I wanted this to be, and we're going to do checkboxes, so I will do checkboxes and show you none of the above. But if I want to, true. Cool. All right. This just might be an extra feature that we might forget about. Yeah, it's still. Okay, so I'm just gonna say my favorite food is pizza. But now I still want to be able to say none of the above on ice cream. And so how do we get more options for favorite ice cream? And so now you can see that on this screen, I can only choose one option because it's favorite food, singular, one option. But here I'm going, oh, excuse me. Let's see. Did I move over? Yeah, okay. I want to say, I'm gonna say that, that's a copy and paste error, okay. Favorite ice cream. Flavors. So we're gonna make this optional to choose more than one. I see something in the chat. Oh, Laura, yeah, so what are the keys to backspace the line alignment like that on a PC? Michelle, you're on a PC, right? Or no, you're on a Mac.
So backspace and unindent. The unindent and indent is command and then square bracket.
Press.
It doesn't. What do you?
Oh, okay, yeah. So Laura, it's Alt or the Option key, and so once you get that plus sign, you can highlight while continuing to press down, and you can hit just your regular backspace key or all your normal keys. Should. Thank you, Mike. Yes, Mike, this is what I'm about to go over, is the doing this on the checkboxes. Thank you so much for sharing this. Okay, this is what I'm gonna follow along. All right, so now we're going to do none of the above syntax. Right, okay. Okay, so now we're going to do, all right, I'm just going to do that. So now I'm going to add, following the link Mike sent in the chat, thank you for that. Just going to add in this data type checkboxes, which is another option, another data type. You can also find some of them down here. They're really great. Some of these fields dealing with like the email address or things like this that you can just insert in. You definitely saw Sam doing some of this, radio buttons and all of these just pre-formatted. It's really great. But again, I'm just going to draft them here. So now we're going to do choices. And so again, I'm going to have you all input your favorite ice cream flavors. I know we'll start vanilla, chocolate. Okay, nice coffee, Oreo. Pistachio, cool. Okay, cookie dough. And then, oops. All right, I think I got them all. Thank you all. Okay, that one didn't paste correctly. Awesome. So now we can see. I'm gonna put my name. We're gonna say grapes. And then now we see that none of the above button. And Mike was kind enough to share this documentation. And so now what I'm going to show you how to do is, if we don't want that button, because it default shows, if we don't want that button to appear, we'll add in none of the above false. And so we go back in, we can, it's no longer there. Cool. And so we'll say chocolate, Oreo, vanilla, let's say a few. Awesome. But does anyone notice anything about the ice cream output?
Are those the ones that you chose?
No, it's showing all, yes, LSN tab. Yes, those are not the ones that I chose, excuse me. And so I do need to actually add something here. And this is a little bit more advanced, but it's just to be able to show these options here. I'm just adding this to the end here to be able to show the specific options that I just chose. And so I add dot true values, open and close parentheses. And so now that I've done that, I'm gonna save here. And it has narrowed down to the choices that I selected. Thank you. Okay. And so I'm going to stop here because I've just gone through a lot. And so please enter any and all questions, and feel free to unmute yourselves, ask me any questions from what we've just gone through, and anything about interview order blocks, the question blocks. Any questions and at this time, anything you're seeing on your end, if you're testing anything else. Thank you for clarifying that to everybody in the chat, Sam. I'm just going to give everyone a second in case anyone's typing a question in the chat. Okay. I'm just going to close out some things here. Ashley, is there a way to have a type in response for other? Yes, great question. And so let's see. So here we're going to say on this question, other. And now we're going to add in some logic where down here. So if I have, I'm going to say, that's a great question, Ashley. So I'm going to say other, and then I'm gonna create a new label, or a new variable, excuse me. This is the label. I created a new field down here. So this is, you'll see the functioning of it on screen, but this is going to drop down when other is selected. And this is the label, this is the variable. And here it's just, as Sam said previously, this is just going to default to a text input, which is what we want this to be, for favorite food. And here we go. And so now we can just proceed with this functioning, and then I will show you how to make it conditional. Yeah, my computer is a bit sticky. Okay, so right now it's just showing automatically. And we really want it to only show if we select other, because if we're selecting pizza, we don't want other to show. And then if we only want pizza, we don't want this to have to be filled in every time. And so we're going to go back over here and we're going to add, it's called show if. And so we're saying we only want this to be, we only want other to show if it's fave food. You're on track, but you need the very. Yeah, no, I think we could also do it this way, where it's fave food equals. Yeah, so there like in DOCACON, there's many different ways to do everything, and so I'll show you both ways. But I think one way is this way of doing it. So I'm going to proceed this way, and then I'll also show you the other way where you can go. Oh no, it's not going to work. So per usual, Michelle is right. Michelle has the answer, and so this is where if we go show if and we go variable is, and so we're going to go back to kind of how I had this going, where it's this fave food is other. No. We need the JS show if.
So this should be one way of doing it. The other way, the way you were trying to do it, you would do JS show if, but
right. Okay. That was what I was gonna say. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Let's see. So, all right. Now we'll show you the other way. So we got this way, and now if we hit pizza, we don't get that other value. But if we hit other, we see our other option, and I can write in what I went for at first, potato. Cool. And so if we do want to just have a different way of doing this, we can try JS show if and here, and then this would, the formatting here would be food equals. No? Right. No? All right, now we think we've got it. Nope.
Close round page.
Okay. We will see. There we go. And so now I can do that. And then that's a great question, Laura. What does JS show if mean? And so I know it means JavaScript show if. And so with this vertical pipe, we're now writing in JavaScript, is that right? Okay, cool. But, and then when, right, thanks, Sam. And then I don't use this JavaScript. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, everyone else is on that question. Thank you all. Okay, and then now I'm going to go back over here. And so we're gonna just, this is kind of awkward. So for favorite ice cream, we can go just remove that, make that no label. Cool. So we'll grab a few of these. And now we're seeing here that my favorite food is other, but what's the issue? Anyone wanna guess? Well, we're not seeing potatoes, and thank you, Ashley. Okay, so now we need to figure out how we want to show potatoes, which is this value that I entered in for this field, other fave food. And
Ian?
yes,
I'm sorry.
of course, Tony.
Some people in the online want to know, and I'd like to know as well. When you're using a variable on the same screen, what is the rhyme or reason for using JSShowF versus just a regular showF?
So I think, so for the, I don't know what yeah, thank you, Michelle, for what, is that, yeah, David, I think that the value of show up is that.
So it's partially a style choice, right? One, you can, like, some people find it clearer to read, variable is. Another thing is if you use the JavaScript version, you have to know the JavaScript functions, the JavaScript syntax, so you have to have a different set of skills. So if you want to get complicated and do some complicated checking for values, then you'll probably need to use the JavaScript. But if you just have a variable and its value, it might be easier not to learn JavaScript first.
Okay.
Thanks, Michelle. She always has the answers.
Except for when I'm wrong.
Okay. Awesome. And then, okay, so yes, we're trying to figure out how to get potatoes to show here instead of other. And so what we're gonna do to get that to happen is we're gonna grab this variable other fave food, because now we're, this syntax here is very similar. And I think it was probably the syntax that I first typed in, that is what we're going to need here is in order to get favorite food is, so it's gonna be fave food, but so now we're gonna add the logic where favorite food is, so this can get a little tricky, but we're going to add a another show if statement, but it's going to be down in the or in the sub question. And so we're going to say, let's see. Yeah, is. Well, we're going to start with this and see if this is going to get us our value. And get us what we want. And so now we're just seeing true. And so what we want is the value inside this other. So other fave food, right? And so we're going to say is, but we only want, right. So we have fave food. Am I correct on this syntax? To start the if statement here? Or is that?
A new line, it's
Right.
wrapping, it looks like it's
Okay.
wrapping around, but it is.
Okay,
still
cool.
on the tip.
So, like that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so is favorite. So we're going to say favorite food is, and we want that to look like so. If the logic here is that if favorite food equals the other, we're going to, you have to indent here, I believe. We're going to have favorite food, fave food other. Yes, this is our other fave food show. And this is our syntax. Okay, cool. And then else, we're just going to show fave food. Okay. Then no. And so cool. We will see. I got this logic right. Awesome. Thank you. This is that's how it feels. That's how it feels. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. So, do you need to use the parenthesis or not? Excuse me, the percent sign, Chris. That's a great question. Yes, in this format, you do. You do need this percent sign. So, Laura, thank you. It's so for a lot of these things, it's like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why they have to be the way they are, but it's just recognizing that like the pattern of it, or like that they're there, and then just following that pattern every time I do it, or doing the save and run, getting the error, and then just doing it the way it needs, like it's asking it to be done, and then not really worrying too much about like exactly like the language that this is in, or the specific reason why it needs to be there. So thank you. Michelle is on the exact reasons why. So thank you all for oh yes, and so I didn't realize that. So yes, I will say aloud. So Michelle is responding to this question about using the percent sign here. And so I'll highlight these. So right before the if statement, the else statement, and the end if. So this is the logic here for whether or not the other fave food needs to show. And it's Michelle's responding, Mako uses percent to run some code blocks. Like Mia is saying, Mako needs a way to figure out when you mean code and when you mean text. And so that's what this helps to do. Okay. And so I know we're running out of time here, and so I just want to give everyone an opportunity to ask some questions, and if there is anything else I can help resolve, or any other questions, or if you are seeing an error on your screen and you want help with that from Sam and I or anyone else in the room here. Feel free to unmute and just ask a question or post it in the chat. Marlena is asking, so if you are creating a real interview, how do you save the data collected? It's a really interesting question. I know that, okay, so I think that's talking to the, like using GitHub, and I know that's like probably beyond the scope of this training. Do you mean a separate data? Yeah. Okay, yeah, so, oh, convert it to a PDF. Yeah, so I can just do that right at the end here. Before we finish up, I'll show you how we can move what we've been working on here into a PDF. So just, I'm just going to add a example here. Let's see. So I think this is an example that might do it. And I'm just grabbing this from an example I have. I don't think this is going to be a docx file, but I will add our content to this attachment block. And so in order to, oh, I don't know if this is going to, thank you, Michelle. All right. Good? Thank you. All right, so what I've done here is I've added an attachment block, which Marlena, to your question, it will allow you to output a document. And so here I've just added document as the name. And so I've added, instead of the output on screen, we're going to have an output on document. And then there's other ways to do this. And I'm sure if you've been following along with the like LitCon yesterday or earlier today, you've seen other types of outputting the document. But for the sake of this beginner demonstration, I'm just going to go through it this way. And so we're going to move forward. Oh, I'm just using up here, just using a different variable. So I'm just going to grab that, and I did identify that by up here. So here we go. Okay, and so we will now, though, have to add this variable name down here from the attachment block up. Instead of the output being answers, we're going to want the final output to be the document. And so that's something we're going to say document.
So what you need is the index. You need the index. Or you can put that attachment on the same page as document, just the attachment without the question.
Oh, okay. Event document? Well, it's a variable name.
Yes, but it doesn't, it means to use that variable in another question. Not that it will, maybe they seek the definition. You know what? I don't
I think it will work.
know. Yeah,
Hey.
All right.
Okay. And these are my outputs. Cool. Marlene, I hope that helps answer your question. And then, yeah, and so these are just, this is, and then also I can show you down here where I did grab this earlier. The attachment blocks here, I have so many open, but I'll try and close them. Let's see, where did I grab this from? It's like somewhere down here that you can access more of these interview flow, but you can access question or sample attachment blocks down here and do the CV. Oh, there, yeah. So there are some examples of or wait, I don't know. There's a lot of options down there in the example block. So go look at them.
That one is for pre-existing.
Right, when it's already there. So here, let's see, I'm missing some things on the chat. Let's just, okay. Thanks so much, Laura. Thanks, Glenn. Awesome. Okay, and if there's any other questions, please let Sam or I know. I am going to wrap up here, and then I'm going to stop my share. I'm also going to include my email in the chat. If there are any questions, feel free to email me, and then also you can feel free to reach out to me on the DocAssemble Slack. I am happy to answer any questions. And thanks so much for following along and being patient. I really enjoy this, and thanks so much.